Everyone. Alan here from ABTS London, England. Welcome to everyone. And I'm going to discuss with you the role of the freight forwarder and the clearing agent. Now, before I start off on the role of the freight forwarder and the clearing agent, let me just put some things to rest. A freight forwarder sometimes, depending on the country you're in, is called a freight broker. But I'm using the generic name, a freight forwarder. So we're going to talk about a freight forwarder and the role of the freight forwarder, what a freight forwarder does. Okay. Again, a little background. In some countries, you have to be registered with the local authorities to become a freight forwarder. And you have to go through, you've got to tick the right boxes, so to speak, to become a freight forwarder. In the UK, where I am, and to my knowledge, in most of the European Union, to name just a few countries, 28 to be precise, you don't need to register. So before we get stuck into freight forwarding, it's kind of a little warning light coming up here a bit. And as I speak as an ex-freight forwarder, so I'm not biased and I'm not one-sided about this. But some freight forwarders, sometimes people wake up in the morning and they say, hey, you know what? I'm going to become a freight forwarder. I'm going to become a freight forwarder. Very little knowledge, maybe a smidgen of knowledge. And if you use that freight forwarder, you can get into lots of hassle. So, as I say, I'm talking about a freight forwarder. I'm talking about universal freight forwarding. And I've just added a little bit to that, saying anybody can become a freight forwarder in some countries by just saying, I'm a freight forwarder. In other countries, they have to register and they have to jump through the hoops. They've got to tick the boxes, etc., etc. Finally, before we start on freight forwarders, in some countries, as I say, you have to register to be a freight forwarder and a clearing agent. Now, I'm not going to name any freight forwarding companies because we don't product place in ABTS. And I'm not going to name countries because I don't want to offend countries. But in my 35 years plus, I've been around the block, as they say, a few times, and I visited hundreds of freight forwarding companies and clearing agents worldwide. And I did that on all occasions at the behest of a client, where they would say, go to country X, get as a freight forwarder, get as a clearing agent. And these freight forwarders are clearing agents. The account could be up to $500,000 a year. Now, I found going into those freight forwarders or clearing agents, as if it was a case, I'd say, you're registered, aren't you? They say, yeah, we're registered. Can I have your registration number, please? And they give me the registration number. And as I would go through the freight forwarders and clearing agents, I'd find 5 or 6 of them have the same registration number. So, come on, you don't have to be a genius to realize that the original freight forwarder or clearing agent sells his freight forwarding authorization number to other people. So before we start, I would just have a general notice to you all, and we will look at it in more detail in how to find a good freight forwarder. But make sure the freight forwarder you are going to employ is bona fide and they know what they're talking about, because I've just said in certain countries, you don't have to have any knowledge. And laying bare, when I became a freight forwarder many years ago, I just woke up one morning, not actually, but just woke up and decided I'm changing my career. I was young enough to do that. I'm changing my career and I'm going to open a company and I'm going to be a freight forwarder. Now, I wasn't stupid. I had a lot of practical knowledge, but it was that easy. So before we extol the virtues of freight forwarders, can you please bear that in mind? I'm just reading who's here. Richard, hello, how are you? I'm not going to tell you the rest. It says, my colleague has told me the number of people watching. Put it this way, I won't be speaking to the masses here, maybe later on YouTube, but you're not beating the door down to watch me in real time, put it that way. So hi to those people who are actually watching me. And please let me know if you have any questions. I'm keeping my eye on, as best I can, the right-hand side of my screen where the remarks are. I'll ignore the remarks if they're bad remarks. I only read the marks if you say, how wonderful this is, Alan. If you say, don't like what you're doing, Alan, I just ignore you. I won't even talk to you, okay? So here we go, a freight forwarder. And the role of the freight forwarder, or brackets, the freight broker, as they are called in some countries. Okay, I'm still teasing you about what a freight forwarder is and the role, because I'm going to ask another question, or I'm going to ask a question you would ask me. Hey, Alan, do I need a freight forwarder? No, you don't need a freight forwarder. You can do it yourself if you want to. You can liaise with shipping lines, airlines, trucking companies, as long as you have the knowledge. You can go it alone. On a personal level, I wouldn't recommend it. The money you can potentially save could be lost in you losing a contract because of insufficient paperwork, or you were charged too much for the freight, etc. So can I do it alone? Of course you can do it alone. Do I need knowledge? Of course you need knowledge. What would you advise? A beginner? I would advise you employ the services of a freight forwarder stroke broker. And at long last, I promise you, here we go. I'm going to tell you the role of the freight forwarder. Not in any particular sequence, but just a general picture of a freight forwarder. A freight forwarder can book a cargo for you. You contact a freight forwarder and you say to them, initially, I'd like a quotation for a FCL, full container load, from departure port A to a port of importation B. And they come back to you in 2 minutes online or give you a buzz and they say, there you go, FCL, key to key, $2,000. Do you want us to position the empty container in your premises and quote you for that? Yes, please. That'll be another $485. Do you want us to prepare the bills of lading for you? Yes, please. So they book cargo for you. They liaise. They're the middleman between the carrier and you. Why? Because they talk the talk. They know how to talk to the shipping line, where you, with respect, as a beginner, might flounder and you don't know what the shipping line is talking about. And shipping lines do not carry people. They expect if you ring them, you can talk the talk. And if you can't talk the talk, use a freight forwarder. Okay, so here we go. They book cargo for air, sea, and land. And as I point out, they will arrange for a container to be positioned, as they call it, in your warehouse, in a full container load. They will arrange collection from your warehouse to a loading depot for less than a container load. So they look after all aspects of the physical movement of your goods, be it domestic or international. And on an international scale, They will look after air, sea, and trucking. Particularly in Europe, we do a lot of trucking from, say, the UK to Turkey, UK to Bulgaria. So they can organize that for you. How they organize? Well, let us just look at that. They can provide for you a service called for shipping, an NVOCC. Now, you might be asking me, what the heck is an NVOCC service? Sounds great. Non-vessel owner common carrier, NVOCC. What does it mean in plain speak? They can offer you reduced or competitive sea freight rates because they are an NVOCC carrier, or if they are an NVOCC carrier. Non-vessel owner common carrier, what's that all about? Well, it's quite simple. A freight forwarder, usually a large freight forwarder, will approach a particular shipping line or shipping lines. And they will say, I have cargo capacity to give you every month 90 containers shipped from port A to port B, or from port A to port B to port C. I can give you 100 containers. And the shipping line says, yes, please. And in return, the freight forwarder says, but I want reduced rates. I'm not going to charge, I'm not going to pay you the normal printed rate. I want special rates. And the shipping line says, yeah, okay. So that is reflected in the cost they charge you because they're an NVOCC carrier and they can issue their own bills of lading. Kind of vanity bills of lading, I call them. I'm sure an NVOCC person watching this would be spitting blood and saying, it's not vanity, they are bills. Oh, yeah, come on. You can stick your own name on them. Okay, so let's not belittle freight forwarders so early. So they can be an NVOCC carrier for sea freight, and they can be a consolidator for air freight. A consolidator is a freight forwarder, again, the same ethos as the NVOCC. They approach the airlines and they get massive discounts because they give them bulk and they can pass these discounts on to you. So not only can they book cargo, but they can also offer you NVOCC rates and consolidated rates, which is absolutely wonderful. They can provide you with export packing. They can do all your packing for you. They can also provide you, usually, not always, also provide you with hazardous cargo packing. Now, hazardous cargo packing is a very specialist job. I do not want to degrade it. I don't want to get a smile from you on this one, but it's more than putting hazardous cargo in a wooden box or a cardboard box and sending it off. No, it is very exact type of packing because of the nature of the cargo. Hazardous. Now, not everybody can put a hazardous cargo in a pack a hazardous cargo. You've got to sit your exams. You've got also to have refresher courses every 2 years. Now, not many companies, if they're shipping 2 lots of hazardous cargoes in a year, they're not going to send their staff out and have them trained and retrained every 2 years. So the freight forwarder puts his hand up and says, I can do that for you because they have the trained staff. So they can export pack for you. They can export pack hazardous cargo for you. Very, very important. They can provide warehousing for you. They can supply consolidation for you. In other words, you might be exporting an order from your country to country Y. but you are buying in from 8 or 9 companies in your country and possibly other countries. You're bringing them into your country and you are forming them into the cargo to send to your buyer. Now, you mightn't have that capacity, that warehouse capacity, or the logistics capacity. There's where your freight forwarder comes in. They can say to you, that's okay. When you order these bits from 8 companies, in my case, in the UK, or from Canada, China, America, I can't satisfy you all out there by naming your country, but you get what I'm talking about. Bring them in. Put them in our warehouse. We've brilliant warehouse facilities. We'll receive them, we'll check them, and we'll pack them to a container for you. A full container load or less than a container, whatever you want. Okay, so they can have warehousing facilities and storage. A freight forwarder can prepare documentation for you. Obviously, not obviously, but they do prepare bills of lading for sea freight, master airway bills or house airway bills for air freight, and haulage receipts for haulage, road haulage. So they can prepare all those documents for you. They also can prepare for you documents such as a certificate of origin, a preferential trading origin. They will give you advice where to get a phytosanitary certificate or an individual certificate. They can liaise with their local chamber of commerce to get your documents legalized, certified. They can do all this for you. So without demeaning your responsibility, if you have a freight forwarder, and most importantly of all, if you have the right freight forwarder for your business, and you can trust them, you can, figuratively speaking, sit back and let them do most of the work. Now, a shipping manager out there or somebody that's in the business might start saying, come on, Alan, that's not true. You don't sit on your backside and let your freight forwarder do anything, figuratively speaking, of course, but they do most of it. You kind of give them the odd buzz now and then, how's this going, how's that going, but they're doing most of your business for you. That is why I said at the beginning, make sure your freight forwarder is a bona fide freight forwarder. They know what they're doing. And they don't have to be a brand name. As I said before, we don't product place. ABTS training services, we don't product place here. But there are internationally famous freight forwarders. And there's a scale, the big guys. NVOCCs, consolidators, they do anything you want. They've offices all over the world. They'll even do your customs clearance when the goods arrive at the port of destination. These are the big players. Then you go down the pecking order, and you come down to where I was when I had a freight forwarding business. And that's a small, bespoke business. We'd about 15 active accounts at the most. Big accounts, but 15 active accounts. But we gave as good a service as the big boys. So please don't think you have to have a brand name freight forwarder. They can be a very small company. And I find in my travels that sometimes the small bespoke company, a freight forwarder, gives you a better service than the big guys. Because the big guys are always changing stuff and they forget you, and you contact them, they say, yeah, Alan who? A small freight forwarder knows what color shirt you're wearing every day. They know your company. They visit your company. So don't be put off by brand names that you have to have a brand name. Yes, they're brilliant. I've dealt with them all. They're brilliant. But give the little guy a chance as well. And I don't say that because I was a little guy, but give the little guy a chance as well. And as we will see in a few moments, it's not what the freight forwarder can do that can do, it's what the freight forwarder can do for you. Okay, so without wandering off too much off center there, so they can offer you a service of obtaining documentation for you, like local transport, as I said. They can also submit your export declaration. When you export goods, no matter what country you're exporting from, your government, that's a blanket name, an umbrella name, your government, but a department in your government wants to know what the heck is being exported from their country, item by item. And they also want to know or tell you there's certain things you can't export. So you have to make an export entry. And besides your authorities knowing what's going and what you can't export, they use that for the balance of payments. They want to see, your government wants to see, how much do we export in dollars, just let's say dollars, as opposed to how much we import in dollars. And very, very fundamental economics says this, and you could shoot a hole in this statement, that your country is in a very good position if you export more than you import. Because when you export, you bring money in. When you import, you send money out. Well, you could run through that with a horse and cart, but, roughly speaking, that's it. So that's why you need an export entry. Your freight forwarder will do that for you. All you have to do is say, please do my export entry. And they will look after your export entry to customs. They will also give you sailing dates. And when aeroplanes are leaving for a particular destination. In other words, I have an order and I must produce that order, manufacture that order, and get it to the buyer by a certain date. First port of call, figuratively speaking, is my freight forwarder. And so I've got an order here. I reckon it's going to take us 3 weeks to produce it. You're going to do the packing, so you know how long that's going to take. And it must be in my buyer's country by this date. So can you please tell me when I should have the goods ready for shipment? They'll say, yeah. They will tell you. They will say, well, there's 2 vessels, 2 different shipping lines. One is going on the 12th and one is going on the 18th. Take your pick. The rates are the same. Take your pick. So they give you, they will tell you the scheduled sailings for sea freight. And for air freight, it's more kind of laid back. You will say, I need a flight next Thursday. How am I off for that? And so, yeah, there's 4 airlines going there. And yeah, as of now, we have capacity. So if you want to book up, let me know as soon as possible. So they will give you sailing dates and airport departure days and times. Now, I've just given you not too much detail, but I've given you, I hope, just a flavor of what a freight forwarder does. Could I encapsulate that in a few words? Yeah. I would say they're an export information center. They can tell you everything. I'm sending goods to Belarus. What documentation do I need? I'm sending goods to Saudi Arabia. Can you tell me all about it? I'll be going into a country I've never exported before. What's your take on methods of payment? Should I, give them 30 days? Should I use a cash against documents transaction? How about letter of credit? Should I use a letter of credit? And the freight forwarders who know the stuff will tell you, yeah, for that country, it's a bit iffy. So I would do a confirmed letter of credit if I was you. And then you can ask them, okay, if I do a confirmed letter of credit, can you guide me? Can you guide me through presenting the documents to the bank for payment? Yeah. We have a couple of experts in the office. They know letters of credit inside out, upside down, and sideways, and they know the rules of the game, UCP 600. Yeah. So they can be an information center. And always remember, you only pay a freight forwarder when they actually ship for you. So you can use them as an information center, just ringing them. Don't abuse the privilege, but you can ring them and just say, I'm not used to shipping and this is the size of my consignment. Would that be a full container load? Would that be less than a container load? Would you advise me on how I should box for a container load, etc., etc.? I'm trying to do two things at the one time, which I'm totally hopeless at. And I'm telling you now, I'm trying to read on my right-hand side what you good people are saying. So just bear with me just a few seconds. I will ramble on, but just bear with me. Hi, Ahmed. How are you? Hi, Alan. Ahmed. Thank you, Ahmed. How are you? Ahmed again says, it's nice to have you this evening. I'm glad you haven't fallen asleep yet or walked out of the room and made yourself a coffee. Hello, I just joined. My name is Mary and I'm watching from Nigeria. Wow, Mary. Been down in Port Harcourt many times, out in Bonny Island many times, customs clearing for clients down in Port Harcourt. Tincan Alley, I've spent many good times in Nigeria. So hiya, Mary. Welcome aboard, using the nautical term, welcome aboard. Okay, everyone, that's about as far as I'm going to go on freight forwarding. You get the gist of it. And the warning signs are, if you come from a country where a freight forwarder has to register, ask them for the registration number. And then go online and check them out. They can sell it on, etc., etc. And what I'm going to do now, it's not kind of on the syllabus as such, but what I'm going to do now is help you to select a freight forwarder. What's the criteria for selecting a freight forwarder? Okay, this is it. Freight forwarders are wonderful at telling you what they can do, where they ship to. Their website can be full of glowing information of what they do. But please don't be taken in by that, or don't go out of focus. It's not what they can do. It's what they can do for you. It's no use contacting a freight forwarder who specializes in full container loads to South America, and you're doing most of your shipping down to Mary in Nigeria. I mean, come on, they're no good to you. So what you do before you select a freight forwarder, you make out your wish list. What service you want from them, not what they can give you. Don't be suckered in with the free pen and the tie and a bottle of whiskey at Christmas. Make sure you get the freight forwarder you want, and not the freight forwarder that was thrown at you. Okay, here we go. You can make up your own list, but I'm going to give you roughly. I would ask them, as we've discussed, do you have MVOCC and consolidation rates? Do you ship LCL and FCL? And then ask them for a list of all their fixed rates. Now, they can't give you, well, they can. If you said to them, I specialize in Nigeria, and in particular to Port Harcourt, I send out 2 full container loads a month, possibly 3, but 2 full container loads a month, or 4 pallets a month. What kind of rates could you give me for that? So you're getting an indication. And then you ask them, can you do export packing for me? And if you're into hazardous cargo, can you do hazardous cargo packing for me? I don't have warehousing facility here in the UK, but I will need it. What's your square meter? How much do you charge me for your warehousing? So the point I'm making, without laboring the point, is it's not what they offer you on their website. It's what you want from them. And you will find sometimes what you require and what they can offer you are just two different things. So without making it sound blasé, it's so easy. You just ask them, can you do this? Can you do that? Do you air freight to Dubai? Do you air freight to Port Harcourt? Mary, I'm going to have to stop talking to you about Port Harcourt. People will say there are other people watching this, not a lady from Port Harcourt. So it's just I have a soft spot for working in Nigeria. So anyway, that's it. No more Mary, no more, no more Port Harcourt. So that is it, a wish list. Okay. Now let's go on to a clearing agent. What is a customs clearing agent? Before I answer that question, let me just tell you what happens when a cargo arrives, an international cargo arrives at a port, a seaport, or an airport. It's cleared through customs. It has to be declared to customs. Otherwise, it's smuggling. So it's declared to customs. Hey, customs officer, I'm bringing in 4,000 pairs of ladies' shoes from Thailand. And based on that, and this is very fundamental, based on that, your customs will say, okay, 4,000 pairs of shoes from Thailand, are they children's shoes or adult shoes? Well, a mixture. Okay. Children's shoes, no VAT on them. Adult shoes, 18% VAT or local taxes. And the import duty is 8%. And it's the 8% is based on, and then every country is different. I stand corrected, but from memory, it was FOB in Nigeria. It's CIF in the UK. Now, and then you have to say, okay, here, I'll pay you. And then they say the goods are released, take them away. Now, it's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as that. So you use a clearing agent to do that work for you. So what is a clearing agent? What is the role of a clearing agent? The role of a clearing agent is to declare your import to their local customs. They declare that in most countries on a computer. And they send that information on a computer to a customs computer. Now, they have to have a vast amount of knowledge. They've got to know what is the tariff number for shoes. In other words, they've got to know the tariff book. They've got to know all import restrictions and customs regimes in their country. They've got to be able to physically communicate with customs officers. They've got to look after your interests. Now, in most countries in the world, clearing goods are done on a computer, as I've just said. In the UK, I suppose one of our claims to fame is we started computerized customs entries back in about 1972 from memory. Anyway, that's academic. In the UK, we have a fully computerized system called CHIEF, an acronym for Customs and Handling of Import and Export Freight. When I visit other countries, they don't call it CHIEF. It's roughly the same thing. It's computerized. So your clearing agent or a clearing agent's prime function is to declare your imports through customs and hand customs the accompanying documentation. For instance, your bill of lading if it's coming into a seaport, your invoice, your packing list, and maybe a certificate of origin, etc., etc. So they will ask you, they will say to you, okay, Alan, you've asked me to clear your goods through customs. May I have your documentation? So I send them, give them a documentation. And then the clearing agent will sit down on their computer and they will make an entry to the local customs computer. Some countries don't make entries to customs on a computer. They hand-driven entries, or they're written entries on a piece of paper. So they make the entry on a piece of paper and physically hand it to a customs, and the customs, will enter on a computer. But these are variations on a theme. But the essence is the clearing agent clears your goods through customs. And like our friend, the freight forwarder, they're an information desk. I can contact a clearing agent and say to them, I'm bringing in children's shoes or adult shoes from country X. Could you please tell me what documents you will require from me to make a swift entry through customs? Are there any impediments there? Do I have to pay extra duty if I bring them in from this particular country? So they're there to give you all this information. And like a freight forwarder, you only pay them when they actually make an entry for you. And they can offer you, like a freight forwarder, they can offer you peripheral services. For instance, a freight forwarder can use, let me just go back a step. Strictly speaking, your goods cannot enter your country unless you pay your import duty and local taxes. Universal. But, there's always a but you can, in reality. In most countries, they have a customs regime called duty deferment. It's like your credit card. You buy the goods in your credit card, you take them home, and you pay later. Duty deferment is you bring your goods in, duty has been imposed on it, and VAT or local taxes, but you don't pay. You take them out. And you pay later. And I've been very general when I say pay later. There's a date you have to pay them by. Now, a clearing agent has that facility. You don't have to have it. So a clearing agent will contact you and say, Alan, it's 800 in UK, £800 import duty and £954 VAT. And I go, wow, that's not the best day to get a phone call asking me for money. And I can turn around to that freight forwarder and say, look, do me a favor, please. Can you defer it? Credit card it. Can you defer it for me, please? On your deferment? Yeah, he'd charge me a fee, but he can defer it. So they can give you peripherals. Not only do they clear the goods through customs, but they can advise you before you import your goods what documents you use, what impediments there could possibly be before you import your goods. And you can use their duty deferment. They can give you bonded warehousing. What's bonded warehousing? Okay, let's just backtrack. I said to you legally, you cannot get your hands on your importation unless you pay your duty and local taxes or defer it. Say you don't want to do that. Say you don't want to pay your duty, full stop. What you can do is you can ask your clearing agent, please enter this consignment into bonded warehousing. Bonded warehousing, it's a warehouse or an address that in plain speak Customs do not have authority in there. They create it, but they've no authority in there. So I can put my consignment in there, my coffee cup, which I'm using as an excuse so I can have a sip on this right now. I can put my coffee cup in a bonded warehouse. Not being too stupid. I can put in a consignment of 10,000 coffee cups I bought from China. And I can put them in a bonded warehouse so they don't attract import duty. I only pay import duty when they come out, which could be 4 months later, 3 months later, whenever. So a clearing agent not only can offer you a customs regime like a duty deferment, just checking to see is anybody telling me to keep quiet or they're enjoying it. No adverse comments. So let's soldier on. Okay, so you can they offer you duty deferment. They offer you bonded warehouse facilities. They offer you a collection. They will collect your goods from customs and deliver to your premises. So all of these peripherals are part of the services of a freight forwarder. But the fundamental service of a freight forwarder is to clear your goods through customs. Declare them to customs. Declare them correctly to customs. Because, in plain speak, they talk the talk. They know the tariffs, they know the regimes, they know the local customs offices. Now, in the UK, I'm often asked, well, can I do that myself, Alan? I say, yeah, of course you can. If you're a masochist, I highly recommend you do it yourself if you're a masochist. But in England, a rough guide to how much a clearing agent will charge you is between 35 and 45 pounds. The best 35, 45 pounds you've spent in your life. You just sit back and they do all the work for you. So that is the role of the clearing agent. And we've looked at the role of the freight forwarder, not in absolute detail, but I'm sure you've got a flavor of the role of both. Again, you could ask, well, I want a freight forwarder. How do I find a freight forwarder in my country? God bless Mr. Google. All you do, it's not like in my day, which it was very difficult to find freight forwarders, particularly in foreign countries. Now you just go onto Google. Freight forwarders in Port Harcourt. Mary, that's the last time I'm going to mention Nigeria. Freight forwarders in Lima, Peru. Freight forwarders in Baltimore, USA. And pring, they all come up. So it's very, very easy. How do I find a clearing agent? Exact same thing. Just go online. And there you go. Name your city, name the port where you want that clearing agent. And then when you contact them, just like the freight forwarder, you ask questions. You have a wish list. What is your fee for customs clearance? Whatever. Okay. How many items can you put for me, declare for me, on an import entry for that amount of money? Because you mightn't be just bringing in shoes. You could be bringing in shoes, socks, shirts, caps, glasses. Here I go again. It's a good excuse. Coffee mugs. Okay. You could be bringing in coffee mugs. Now, that's 5 entries. You've got to ask your clearing agent, how many of those entries do you do for your basic 35 pounds or naira or whatever it is? Oops, there I go, Nigeria. For whatever, your dollars or whatever it is. And they might say, for our basic fee, you get 2. We will clear the shoes and the socks. But for each other item, it's so much per item. So you ask them. You don't ask them, can you clear through customs? Because that's what they do. So you ask them, how much are your fees? You ask them, do you do bonded warehousing? Can I tap into your duty deferment? And if so, how much do you charge me? In the UK, last time I did it, it was £15 minimum. No, it was 12.5% of what is being deferred. So if I'm asking a clearing agent here to defer £800, they will charge me 12% of £800 or £12, whichever is the biggest. So you ask them, how much are you going to charge me? How much do you charge for bonded warehousing? And then, as I said, they're an information center. You just contact them and you can ask them any question about importing and they will help you. So in conclusion, freight forwarding, also known as freight brokers in some countries, freight forwarder looks after your exports traditionally, looks after your exports, books cargo, does documentation for you. A clearing agent is a specialist. They clear your goods through customs or declare your goods to customs. Before you export, you should have in place a freight forwarder before your first export. And you've gone through the ropes with them and you've asked them all the right questions and they tick the box. Before you import, you should nominate, find a clearing agent, and then ask them what they can do for you, what you want from them. And then you're comfortable. Before you start exporting, you've got in place your freight forwarder, you know the service they can offer, you know their fixed fees. With the clearing agent, you know the service they offer you, and you know their fixed fees. Some of their fees in both parties are variable, so hence I use the word fixed fees. So I'm going to finish there. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you found it informative. It wasn't an in-depth look at freight forwarding. It gave a flavor of what those two parties do. So when you start importing or exporting, at least you've stood on the first step. You know the parties involved. You know what to look out for. Now, as I say, that it was a rather brief introduction to freight forwarding and clearing agent, which I don't apologize for, but that's what we were doing. Our next online import and export course, which includes everything I said, includes talking about bills of lading, etc., which is comprehensive, a comprehensive course on import and exporting. Now, we open the door, so to speak, on the 14th of August for you to register. We only take 10 people. We do not believe in a mass stampede for our course because we only do it in tranches of 10. We allow 10 people to do the course. We allow 10 people to study the course. We allow 10 people to sit their exam. We correct it. We issue their certificates. Then we go on to another tranche of 10. If we opened it and we have, say, 30, 40, 50 people, we can't give them individual attention. You're just 1/50th of the mob. We don't work like that. We're a bespoke training course. So we'll have 10 people join the course. As you will see on our website, that is backed up by a free helpline as you're studying. And you contact me and you talk to me and you say, Alan, I'm on module 2, 3, 5, don't know what I'm doing. Can you redirect me and help me? So without banging on about when the course opens, it opens on the 14th of August, Friday, the 14th of August, 2020. 10 people, first come, first serve. You'll see it on the website, but it's £279 to join. We will cover this in more detail, the role of the freight forwarder and the clearing agent, and lots of good stuff in between. I don't know whether this is an advertisement or it would put you off, but I wrote the course, I present the course, And I do that after 35 plus, look at my gray hair, at least 35 years of practical experience. I didn't read a book and write a course. Been there, done that, and made the mistake. So anyway, it'd be nice to say hi to you again as a pupil on our course, and I hope that day happens. In the meantime, I hope you got something from our freight forwarder and clearing agent course. So goodbye, everyone, and you'll see me again when I'll be running another half hour, 45 minutes YouTube. I'm not too sure what subject we will be doing next. We usually run YouTube in response to your requests. So if you want to request, if you want me to run a particular YouTube on a subject dear to your heart on international trade, please let me know. And I'll do it. Love to do it. Okay. So until then, thank you for those who attended the course, and thank you for your greetings. I really appreciate it when I can look there and see names there and people saying they've enjoyed the course. I promise you, I haven't planted my friends there to say, what a wonderful course. What a wonderful presentation, Alan. You get what you get from me. Okay, nice seeing you all. No matter where you are, stay safe in these days. Stay safe and enjoy your life. Okay, cheers now. Bye.